Hey, what's up, gamers? Skelemystyk. I am here today in the rural wastes of Mirage. Why am I way back here in Mirage whenever Imperia is already out and there's so much more to do? Well, I'm only here just because I can be. I like this area. It's a nice open area and it's a good place for me to talk about today's video. This is a question I have been asked a lot of times, and I admit I've been straight slacking and I have never covered in all of my years of making videos. The question before me is, what makes a good deck? What does your deck look like? How do you build a deck? In short, Skell, save me! How can I put my deck together to actually win some of these battles? Because I'm having so much trouble, man. Come on, help me out, man. Please help me out. Okay, well, okay, I got a little bit carried away, but it's pretty much along those lines, pretty much. So in this video, we're going to talk about deck building. What you need, what you don't, what you want to have, and why you want to have it. Now, before I get started in this individual deck building thing in depth, I would like to make a note. There are people who make several different decks for several different purposes. Say you're one of those people that farms Cronus regularly for Amber, or you farm the Gladiator, or you farm the Rat, or whatever the case may be, and you want to have a deck that you use just to farm that guy, or even more, you already have a deck that you find that works well for you, that you use to farm that guy. By all means, save that deck, keep it for yourself. You'll go over here. This is just my common usual combat deck. As an example, you go over here, you'll name your deck. You'll click this little icon right here, and it will let you name. It won't let you say, okay, the Cronus deck or anything like that, but it will let you say, say you're a myth. Your myth boss number 1. And just remember, that's Cronus, ready to go. You know, maybe you want to use it by area. There's several different ways, or several different listings that you can use for this. There you go, like that, like Atlantia, like Tartarus. I mean, you could go Tartarus boss 1. I mean, anything. Anyhow, there are several different ways that you can label that deck. And sure, save that deck for that boss. You don't have to build it every time. Save yourself a lot of trouble. I personally don't do that. I don't use save decks. I swap out my deck with various things as I go, as I'm going to go. If I change major bosses, you know, if I find the one that's a particular pain in the butt of a particular school, I'll change out some extra shields or what have you. But generally, my deck stays the same the whole time. That may be the case for you. That may not be. All right, let me go ahead and get on with the actual deck building. So, for the purposes of this video, I have pretty much emptied out my spell deck. I'm going to take you all from level 1 up to level 130 with the various spells. And I'm going to talk about all the various schools. Even though this is a Storm School character, I'm going to talk about the various schools and how things apply as we go along. First things first, and this is the most important. If you're a level 1 or a level 5, or let's put it, you know, pretty much anything under level 20, they've really only given you a potato gun and a couple of spitballs to work with anyway. So you really don't need to worry about your deck too much before level 20. But there are a few things that you do need to think about. That is, first of all, balance. Balance is super, super important. And by balance, I don't mean the balance school. I mean balance in your deck. Okay, I will use my Storm School here as my example. Whenever you're a lower level character, you're going to want... Wow, okay. Alright, there we go. Whenever you're a lower level character, you're going to want a couple of single hit cards that really cost as little mana as possible. You know, Thunder Snake is okay, and for 1 pip, and early on, really early on, maybe you want a couple of them. And a couple of lightning bats, a couple of things like that. You're going to want, of course, if you have them or can get them, a couple of blades and a couple of traps. I mean, really, at the beginning here, we're just talking about basic stuff. Let me go back down here. A couple of traps. All right. Why? Because as a low-level Storm School character, Well, sure, you can do some damage, but boys, you ain't got a lot of life to work with. They can look at you, they can give you a dirty look and kill you. You're going to be pretty much done for. Alright, so, just a couple of blades, couple of traps, couple of hits. Later on, when you get to be a bigger wizard, you're going to want to put in, let me see if I can find something here that works. Yeah, that's crazy. There's not a lot here that does mass hits. Okay, yeah, there we go. A couple of mass hit cards. Again, I'm using Storm as an example, so Stormlord. It'll be Sandstorm for balance, or Snowstorm for ice. You know what I'm talking about. Those low-level 4-pip hits all cards. Pretty much every school has them. As soon as you can get mass hits, you'll want to have them, because right after the first part of Wizard City, when you get into like Colossus Boulevard in that area, they're going to start doubling up on your opponents. So you'll want to have a couple of things in there that hit more than one target. Now, mind you, whenever you're still there in Wizard City, you're still pretty much a newbie whiz. Still pretty much only got a potato gun and a couple of spitballs. Maybe if you've gotten lucky, they've included a rubber band gun in your kit to help you out to do these things. Alright. Now, this formula pretty much works for every... Man, that sun is up here. This formula pretty much works for every school. When you're a low level like that, you're going to want a couple of single hit, low mana cost cards. You're going to want, as soon as you can get them, a couple of multiple target hit cards. You're going to want a couple of blades. You may, depending on your school and preferences, want a couple of traps. Another important thing to think about, to work on, is shielding. Whenever you're a low level, except for heals, nothing is important as shields. One of the first non-school or non-specific shields that you're going to want to get is this bad boy right here, Tower Shield. You get that, or you can get that at level 16. You've unfortunately got to go through a couple of other cards, Snow Serpent, Frost Beetle, stuff like that, before you can get to it. I forget how many cards down it is, but I think it's like 5 training points down you have to get. But Tower Shield early on. Excuse me. Even if you're not ice school, Tower Shield is going to be one of those things that you just want to have it. Why? Because Tower Shield blocks all school's damage, no matter what it is. And sure, maybe you're an ice and you have this beautiful, shiny, pretty versus Storm and Fire Shield card. Sure. But what about if the boss is a death? What about if the boss is a myth? Well, I hate to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, but that there Storm and Fire Shield card ain't going to help you out very much. However, Mr. Tower Shield over here is going to be a champion for you. It doesn't matter if the man is a death, if the guy is a myth, if the guy is a storm, whatever. That's going to knock off half that damage and save your little bitty wizard's life more times than you can count. More times than you can count, indeed. So that's one of those cards that no matter what school you are, as soon as you can get in your deck, I would recommend getting it in there. If you can't, for some reason maybe you've gotten crazy, you've totally went off the deep end and spent all your training points and you can't get any more, then go to the bazaar and get them as treasure cards. I'm sorry, tower cards. Get them as treasure cards and put them in your sidebar. Now, more on the treasure card situation here in a minute, but for now, like I said, until you even before then, if you don't have the training points for it, or even if you're too low level because there's not a level restriction on the treasure card, you can get that anytime pretty much, and pop those bad boys in your treasure cards, so that whenever you come up against a tough boss, tough guy, you can lose some of that damage and feel a lot better. Now, as for heals, a couple of the schools have heals. I do believe that Balance has a minor heal. Life is just rife with heals. Plus everyone, as part of the quest line, gets this pixie card early on to do some low-level heals, and that's really, really a smart move on King's Isle's part, because some of the schools like Storm, with that low life having, Got no luck with no heals. No good. If you can, if you're not a really brand new player, maybe you're leveling an alt, or maybe your brother's played before and he's going to help you, or your great Aunt Sue, whatever the case may be, and you have access to it, and you have no other way for heals, get yourself a pet that has either fairy or unicorn or sprite or pixie or something to get yourself some heals. You are going to want heals early on. Your life is too low. So if you don't have heals as a school thing, in other words, you're not a life school that has a bunch of heals, or for some reason you don't have a pet that does heals, and all you've got is this pixie to stand on, well, I would again recommend going to the old treasure card spot and putting in some treasure card heals from the bazaar. The unfortunate part with that is that, sure, it'll cost you 2 pips, and if you're not of the life school or of the school that the healing is done, it'll burn pips pretty fast, so you want to use them pretty sparingly, but at least you'll have some heals. I have seen so many battles lost whenever the player had 20 health left or less, and then bam, the boss was almost dead, and then they lost at the last minute and had to do it all over again. So, your deck should, let's throw a couple heals in there, just for the heck of it. We'll get them in there. We got our treasure cards in there. The next card up that I recommend that you get, no matter what school you are, is the Feint card. You can't get this until you're a level 26, which kind of sucks. It really does. It kind of. But once you're level 26, you can get this card. It's way down there. I think like 6 or 8 down there. So you're going to burn a lot of training points to get it naturally. But you can get it from Dworgen in the Death School at level 26. The biggest thing about this, one little shiny pip, and you can add 70% to your damage for your next hit. This small, unloved, unthought about little lightning bat that did 285 will then have 70% added to his hit. And believe me, that makes a difference. 70%, I mean, that makes it almost 500. It's like 470, whatever, something like that. Anyway, it'll turn that little bat into a big bad boy, and it will change battles. So that's another one of the off-school cards that I recommend getting right away. Another one, and this is one that, yeah, I really do recommend. Where's it at? Balance card right there. Here it is. Reshuffle. Reshuffle will let you, for 4 pips, bring all those cards you've already used up back into your deck to be used again. Now you see right here that I've put 2 reshuffles in there. There's a good reason for that. If you have 1 reshuffle there and you use it, bam, it's gone, and you're in a long battle with, I don't know, Charlie Chaplin, the cheese-eating boss. You're in a long battle, and boy, it just doesn't seem like he wants to go down. I mean, you're holding your own. Your health is good. He's not really hitting you very hard. You've got good defenses, and you're all good. You're all good. You're all good. And you have 1 reshuffle. Bam, you use it. Okay, sure, all your cards come back. But the next time, when you run out of cards, because Charlie just doesn't even want to give up the ghost. He's dogging you like a monkey on your back. Dogging you. The next time you go to reshuffle, you won't have any. Because you used that reshuffle card, it went into your discard deck, and you can't get it back out again to reshuffle. However, if you put 2 reshuffles in, you can even discard the first one, which I frequently do. You can discard the first one in play. You'll have the other one, and when you use it, the reshuffle will bring back all your cards, including the other reshuffle that you discarded. So you'll always be able to reshuffle your deck. If you only have 1 reshuffle in there, you've only got 1 time to reshuffle. If you have 2 in there, you can do it to infinity. You can do it for as long as you need to do. All right, I know I'm getting a little bit long-winded with this, but this is sort of a necessarily long subject. So I'm going to break this video into a couple of parts. This will be the end of part 1, and I will pick up on part 2 in the next one. I'll see you then.